The CIA made a report in the Biden administration that COVID likely originated from a lab, and it was only when Ratcliffe got in that the information got released. And as he clarified, we did not draft this report. The report existed. We're just releasing it, which is important because that means the CIA has known for years this was likely what happened. The direction we were going, and we may go if Trump doesn't succeed in his endeavors, though it seems he is, would be that there would be a stateless entity of military power over every country. Not that I would call it a one world government, but the way things had been going in the United States, the institutions like USAID, the CIA, were not beholden to the American people. They were effectively budding off from the U.S. government to become their own international cabal of intelligence and military power. And if Trump did not win, the American people would be subjects to this international intelligence and military operation.
The playground for this, the test ground, so to say, is Ukraine. They've launched the digital ID over there. They've launched all these things that you can't get away with doing. They've been testing them out on the Ukrainians while all of this has been going on through COVID and everything else. And they have poured billions and billions of dollars, both our corporations and our government, using our tax money to kind of play with the dystopian reality of what that would look like, to have the World Bank, USAID, all the actors involved in that, what it would look like for them to be in control and install a puppet president and not allow democratic elections. But we also have to point out that USAID also funded over $50 million in total to EcoHealth Alliance, which was working with Wuhan in the lab there. Is this still allowed to be talked about now? I don't know, on YouTube.
I'm pretty sure they confirmed it. The CIA report came out saying...
The CIA finally came out, but the CIA was the one that was funding this research.
The CIA made a report in the Biden administration that COVID likely originated from a lab, and it was only when Ratcliffe got in that the information got released. And as he clarified, we did not draft this report. The report existed. We're just releasing it, which is important because that means the CIA has known for years this was likely what happened.
They funded the research with EcoHealth Alliance through USAID, over $50 million. And they were working directly with the EcoHealth Alliance president, Peter Daszak, since at least 2013. I worked with the whistleblower to help get his story out, Dr. Andrew Huff, who worked over at EcoHealth Alliance. And he said the CIA approached them through In-Q-Tel, which is basically the capital investment arm of the CIA. And In-Q-Tel didn't end up investing, as far as we know, but USAID was already involved in pouring that money in there. The CIA has known all along where it came from. You can't pour $53 million into a nonprofit organization that's now disbarred for funding this gain-of-function research in Wuhan, China, but they wanted access to the intelligence in China. That's why that's all was funded in place.
So I asked, what happens without USAID, and you were mentioning that, Ryan, that the world starts to heal. But I'm curious, how does Russia respond to this? How does China respond to this? And what does that mean for the global powers? I think Rubio recently said we're entering a multipolar world.
Well, USAID has already been banned from Russia, and their news coverage of this has been, if you even say anything about how Russia is happy about USAID being disbanded, you're just spouting Russian disinformation.
What is the reaction? Is Russia going to make a move on various territories now? Are they going to say, oh, now we have carte blanche, there's no resistance? What happens? What does China do?
I personally think that, Russia's public enemy number one because they wouldn't allow USAID in their country.
But neither would China. But that's how they got into China, is through EcoHealth Alliance. That's how the CIA, USAID got into China. They were never allowed. USAID was never allowed into China. That's how they got that back door there.
I think the issue with Russia largely has to do with expanding NATO's borders.
For sure.
And of course, Russia is right there and China is not. So it's priority for the NATO. But I'm also curious about Assad and Syria, the Arab Spring, right? So as the story goes, Saddam Hussein largely defiant to Western policy, and then he's gone. And Gaddafi. What the claims I hear is, I'm not saying they're true, is that Gaddafi wanted to trade oil in, I think, dinar.
Yeah, gold dinar or something.
Yeah, and he wanted to create like an African Union, and the West was like, you will not interfere with the petrodollar. And so they said, we're going to remove him. Now Libya is a hellscape. There's active slavery, there's militias killing each other, it's just warring tribes. And I'm curious, what USAID's involvement was in the Arab Spring and ultimately Syria, if you guys have any idea.
They are directly tied to it. USAID was funding that whole scandal. What year did the Arab Spring take place?
2011.
Oh, 12. I thought it was 12, but it's...
I believe it started in 2011.
I believe the media was still actually covering stories like this of scandals and not trying to bury them as much. So you can still pull these stories up and read about them, and they're not have the slant that they do today, holding up narratives for the CIA like they do now.
You know what's fascinating is that when the Arab Spring was happening, Facebook and Twitter were given large credit for helping to ignite the Arab Spring protests because people were organizing. And let me tell you something that's really funny. So at the time, I was hanging out with a bunch of friends in various hacker spaces in Los Angeles. If you guys know what a hacker space is, it's basically hackers rent a space and then they hang out. I don't know. And some of my buddies were deeply involved in, online activism stuff. Back then, it was very much free speech, legitimately. The hacker community turned into weird woke garbage over the next few years. But I had some friends who were working on projects where what they would do is they would create dial-up internet lines. So they would set up a phone number that would give you dial-up internet access. So anyone in the world could call that number. If they had a modem hooked up, it would give them rudimentary internet accessing text files and, not media or anything like that. And I remember one of my friends being like, hey guys, I noticed something kind of interesting. Have you noticed that a lot of these Libyans that are posting about what's going on in Libya are speaking perfect North American English? Why? Why would Libyans speak with why would they be tweeting perfect North American English slang and otherwise?
AI in action. Those are bots built to
at the time, it was largely believed to be sock puppet accounts operated by various contractors. And Barrett Brown, at the time, had done some research in something called Project PM, where he uncovered, I believe, I could be wrong about this, the Air Force had been, individuals at the Air Force, had been producing sock puppet accounts on social media that were then distributed to various private contractors for use, where the plan was one individual would operate 50 different Twitter accounts. And what they do is, if you post something on X where you're like, I don't think the U.S. should be involved in Libya, you instantly get slammed by 50 responses from various people saying, I don't know, I think you're wrong about this one. The Libyans need our help. They're suffering. And then you'd get responses from people being like, I'm a Libyan and Gaddafi is killing our people. Please, we beg of you. And that's when my friends who were activists were like, I noticed a lot of these prominent accounts are speaking perfect English. The response officially was, it's because the people who are Libyan, who are on Twitter, were educated in the West before going home. They went to school here, they have friends here, and when they went home, they're using Twitter because Twitter's not largely used in these other countries. Yeah, nobody bought it. The argument was, this is U.S. intelligence trying to convince the American people to support revolution and intervention in Libya, which they ultimately did.
And they did the exact same thing with the Ukraine war. I mean, anytime you posted anything about the Ukraine war, you instantly got these little character responses on Twitter with the Ukrainian flag in their bio. And it was, you just got swarmed by like a hornet's nest of people calling you Russian disinformation if you said the wrong thing, or a Putin puppet. Like they don't only use like people to do these, they use bots. They built bots to build the narrative.
I just don't understand how bad they are at this. Part of me thinks like, are we in the PSYOP right now? Is everything we're talking about the actual PSYOP? Because how could they be so bad at this? You have a global operation with billions of dollars and you screwed it up this bad? I don't know. It seems hard to believe, but I guess, it happens.
I'm reading an OIG report on USAID's involvement in the Arab Spring.
Oh, yeah?
It's very interesting. Lots of things. It's pretty dense. I'll send it to you. I don't know how to interpret it.
How do I find it? What is it?
It is, let's see. Hold on. How did I find it? It's the Office of Inspector General, because all of USAID's websites are shut down. So it's the Survey of USAID's Arab Spring Challenges in Egypt, Tunisia, Libya, and Yemen.
I think Elon needs to publish everything that was on USAID's Twitter and archive it and make it public for research purposes.
I agree.
I mean, that was a treasure trove of evidence, and that needs to be made public for the American people to have access to.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.